6 שנים אני מאבד את האדמה, בשנה השביעית צריך מאכל באיזו שנה.
למצווה הגדולה הזו של השביעית, השביעית היא להשם.
שבורא עולם, אין לנו על מי לשען, אלא על אבינו שבשמיים.
Shemitah, literally suspension, is the last year of every 7-year cycle during which the fields of Israel rest by the suspension of all agricultural activity. In this way, the land becomes rejuvenated and made holy for Hashem. Who told these farmers that Shemitah was possible in modern times? How did so many come to believe in the mitzvah? From where did their inspiration come? Much of it came from this man. The name of Rabbi Mendelsohn, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, is virtually synonymous with modern Shemitah observance in Eretz Yisrael. What led a young Polish rabbi to a dry, inhospitable plot of land in the Negev desert, there to teach the Jewish world about our laws of agriculture? The journey of Rabbi Yamin from his native Plock, Poland, to the settlement of Komamias is a story of inspiration and Hashgacha Pratis. His vision and those who shared it are still transforming agriculture in Eretz Yisrael today through the work of Keren HaShvius and the ever-increasing Shomrei Shvius farmers, the mighty of spirit. Let's begin at the beginning, the old country.
Wherever Jews went, there was always a special high tax. When it came to Poland, they were welcomed the first years. Rebbes, Hasidic Rebbes, named it Poilon, rest here, as a siman min hashamayim that we finally came to a place where we can rest. It is known, as far as history is concerned, Jews established the currency of Poland. And so in Poland, they had a tremendous amount of financial success. There was a Yid, Rabbi Yamin Mendelsohn, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, the son of Rab Mendelsohn, who came from Plock.
The city of Plock is located in central Poland, and its Jewish community is considered one of the oldest in Poland. Records show that there were Jews living in Plock dating back to the year 1237, and throughout the centuries there were various Gedolei Torah of Hasidus that lived there.
Plock was a typical Hasidic place, and at the time of the Mendelssohns, it was certainly in transition because of the war.
Reb Mendel was known not only to be a great Talmud Chacham, but also someone that cared for his community. And as such, even as the community was becoming increasingly assimilated, the people continued to turn to him for guidance and chizik with their personal problems.
סבא שלי, זכרונו לברכה, היה ראש ישיבה בפלוצק. היה לו תלמידים רבים, היה ראש ישיבה בפלוצק, עוד בארץ, אחרי מלחמת העולם, רב נוסן גרינברג, רב חיים גולדברג, רב ינקל קרבר, ועוד ועוד. בראשם הגאון החסיד רב לייב גליבטה, זכר צדיק לברכה, שאני זוכר איך שהוא היה בא לארץ, איך שהוא היה שמח עם אבא שלי תמיד.
It was into this rich heritage that Rabbi Yamin was born in 1904. As a child, Rabbi Yamin earned a reputation as a legendary masmid in his own right. After World War I, Rabbi Yamin married the daughter of Rab Aaron Moshe Chaimovitz, a Gera Chassid, and he opened the yeshiva in the small city of Bajanov in Poland.
Rabbi Yamin developed a close relationship with the Ger Rebbe. At times, the Rebbe would ask Rabbi Yamin to serve as his emissary to convey messages to the leaders of Agudas Yisrael or the Beis Yaakov movement, messages that pertain to the cloud.
And as time went on, more and more as the Poles became religious Christians, more and more religious anti-Semitism started in Poland.
In 1939, there were 9,000 Jews living in Plotsk. Of those 9,000 Yidden, only about 300 survived the war. Rebbe Yamin himself lost most of his family.
Armed with a bracha from the Ger Rebbe, Rabbi Yamin left Poland in 1933 to fulfill his dream of living in Eretz Yisrael. His reputation preceded him, and he was immediately hired as a Rav of the city of Kiryat Ata near Haifa.
And around him was a wonderful, nice community on people who Shomer Torah and mitzvahs, and very beautiful place.
Secular Zionist leaders in Eretz Yisrael had a vision what they wanted the state of Israel to look like. As part of that goal, they strived to assimilate the refugees as they were arriving at the shores of Eretz Yisrael.
And later he decided, no, it's not enough. He wants to come to settle in a place that you have to walk in the fields.
Many religious Jews wanted to settle the land. There was that pioneering spirit, but at the same time there was the challenge of doing that according to halacha.
Around the 1880s, when there were many Yidden that came to Eretz Yisrael, and many of them were farmers, and when those Shemitah years came, and there was no Keren Hashvias to support them, it was a crisis. Many Gedolim at the time got together by writing to one another, and they came up with what they called the Heta Mechira, that if Eretz Yisrael be sold to a non-Jew, then it, according to many poskim, it takes off the Kedushas Shvias. According to almost all the Shitas, Shemitah B'zman Hazeh is only midrabanan, and so that would be a way how to work things out.
The Agudas Yisrael was creating several settlements, and in 1949, the Moshav of Karmamias was established under the direction of the Chazon Ish.
The Chazon Ish, who by then had become the voice of Shemitah observance in Eretz Yisrael, had told a group of dedicated farmers, travel to the Negev. And they did, under the most difficult conditions. On the 11th of Nisan in 5710, in 1950, they moved their rudimentary equipment to the site and set up tents. And then 2 weeks later, a government order arrived that they had to leave. They celebrated Pesach there under very difficult conditions. During Chol HaMoed, a letter was delivered to Prime Minister Ben-Gurion describing the harsh treatment. From then on, they started to be treated better and were supplied with equipment and materials.
The village of Komeniut is in an area that all around is not cities, not anything. There is only other villages.
Meanwhile, the secular Zionist leadership had taken control of the rabbinate of the city of Kfar Ata. Rabbi Yamin could no longer bear the rulings they made, and he decided to leave the rabbinate. About the same time, the members of Komamias asked the Chazon Ish whom to appoint as their rabbi. Knowing of the situation in Kfar Ata, the Chazon Ish suggested Rabbi Yamin Mendelsohn without any hesitation.
Most Jews who were living in Eretz Yisrael at the time, if they were even keeping the halachas of Shemitah at all, relied on the Heta Mechira, where you would officially sell your land to Arabs, and then you just continued working on the land throughout the Shemitah year. The Chazon Ish was strongly opposed to that heter, as were many of the leaders of the Torah community in Eretz Yisrael in the previous generation, such as Rabbi Yeshua Leib Diskin, Rabbi Shmuel Salant.
Since the Gemara says we went into Golus because of the Avayin Shemitah, the Chazon Ish held that the Geula will take place because Jews are being machmir to keep Shemitah.
As such, Rebbe Yamin insisted that in Karmamias they follow the psak of the Chazon Ish and just not work the land at all throughout the year.
Rabbi Yamin would have to become a fierce champion of Orthodox hashkafa, especially following the Churban in Europe, where so many had lost faith.
אבל לא אמר ככה, כתוב בשולחן ערוך אור החיים בסימן רע"א, שאם עושים קידוש על יין, מכסים את הפת, שלא תראה הפת בושתה. כמה אנחנו צריכים לראות שלא תראה אדמת ארץ ישראל בושתה, ויעבדו בה בשמיטה חלילה.
Nonetheless, that Shemitah of 5712, 1952, was hard for the new settlers in the Negev. The people were living in tents and had little to support them. Harder still, when Shemitah ended, they had no wheat to plant for the coming season and little money to purchase seed. The Rav sent people to the nearby community of God to purchase a supply of low-quality seed, cracked and wormy, suitable for livestock feed, but little else.
The very night after Rosh Hashanah, 5713, the tractors went out to plow the fields. For the whole period of the plowing and sowing, no rain fell. On the instructions of the Rav, they hung signs on the tractors that read, "We believe in the one who lives forever, and only after Shemitah do we sow." Then they sowed the damaged wheat. A short while after, rains fell on the fields of Komemius, and the harvest was extremely blessed. But in the rest of the entire surrounding area that had been sown during Shemitah, the entire crop was lost. When the representatives of Kibbutz Gat saw the crop of wheat from Komemius, they came to the Rav to complain. They claimed that when they sold them the wheat, they sold it cheap, at the price of cracked and insect-infested wheat. But when they saw the resulting success, they asked to be paid at the price of wheat for sowing. The Rav gave a ruling that they should compensate the kibbutz with another third above the normal price of wheat.
The rabbi of Komemius had reached his pinnacle. One resident recalls how on the Rosh Hashanah night of a Shemitah year, he would look across the shul and he would see the pure joy and immeasurable happiness radiating on the face of Rabbi Yamin.
הכרתי את הרבי בנימין מנדלסון בילדותי, שהוא היה יושב עם הרב שלנו, הרב רוזנברג, והתחילו לדון מה עושים בעצם, איך אנחנו עוברים שמיטה, איך אנחנו מתפרנסים ואיך אנחנו ממשיכים הלאה. ובילדותי פרשמתי מאוד מיהודי כזה צדיק, איזה מלחמה, איך הוא נלחם, ושלא ישמור שביעית, ועזר כמה שיכול לעזור. ועד היום האמירות שלו ואותן התפילות שלו עומדים לי בכל שנה לפניי, ואני מצליח בזכותו ובזכות הרבנים, אותם הרבנים, הרב בנימין מנדלסון והרב רוזנברג, לעבור כל שמיטה ושמיטה כהלכתה ולהמשיך הלאה.
When I came from Kfarata, the Chazanish asked me how many people came with me, and I replied, more than 1 million. I saw that he was amazed, and his face shone from the fact that there are Baruch Hashem people who are meticulous about this mitzvah. Afterwards, when the question of my Rabbanus came up, whether I should stay in Kfarata with 20,000 people or go to tiny Komemius, he ruled that it is better to be in a special settlement that is run according to the Torah.
It was 10 o'clock one Friday morning in the Shemitah year of 5719, 1959. The residents of Komemius looked up to see black clouds of locusts approaching the settlement, leaving behind them barren fields and loss without measure. The people were petrified that the locusts would destroy their crops as well. Worse, in Komemius they were keeping Shemitah, and so it was forbidden to sow again. If the locusts came, the animals would be left without any food, God forbid. Rav Moshe Yaakov Siegler recalled how he ran feverishly into Rabbi Yamin's house to tell him about the impending disaster.
I couldn't restrain myself and entered his room to wake him. When he heard from me what was happening, he answered me that the whole concept of observing Shemitah is above nature, and therefore so is everything with the locust above nature, and we would yet see the salvation of Hashem in Shemitah. Then He went back to sleep as if nothing had happened. And indeed, immediately when they reached the borders of Kamamias, the locusts turned around and went back the way they had come. An open miracle had taken place in front of our eyes. Not even one locust had entered the fields of Kamamias. They went to other fields, but without even touching the edge of the camp of the mighty in strength. That is, the Jews who carry out the bidding of Hashem with devotion and self-sacrifice. All the children of the Talmud Torah stood outside as it was their break time, and they saw the great miracle. When the post office van entered the settlement completely covered with locusts, they all ran over to see it.
There was a Nes Golui that took place in Kaimamiyutz, and there was a controversy among Gedolei Israel whether on one hand they should be mefarsim the Nes, or better one not to be mefarsim, there'll be an Ayin Hara.
Word of the success of that moshav that keeps Shemitah spread quickly. Rabbi Yamin's Kehillah became a model of observance for all of Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yamin understood that for many farmers, the primary obstacle for proper Shemitah adherence was financial. Many more would join the ranks of the Shomrei Shemitah of given proper support. He expanded the National Center for Shemitah Observing Farmers in the Shemitah years of 5712 and 5719, and he set up an international fundraising arm, now known together as Keren Hashvius. The organization's mission is to recruit farmers to keep Shemitah and to ease the financial burden of those who do. And then he traveled the country from one end to the other to promote Keren Hashvius and Shemitah observance.
לא רואים תמיד, הרי שקרן השביעית דואגת להם, מקבלת על עצמה בשמיטה הקודמת, הם דאגו ל3,000 חקלאים עם פרנסה מיוחדת, מלגה מיוחדת כל חודש של $2,000, $2,500, משפחות יותר קטנות $1,500, וככה הצליחו לעבור את שנת השמיטה.
When we first started working in the 1970s, hardly anybody kept Shemitah. And slowly, 1, 2, 100, 200, 300, to the point that last Shemitah, 2,300 farmers.
תחשבו באמת מה זה חקלאי. חקלאי לגדל 4,000 דונם ולעזוב אותם בשנה אחת זה לא קל. זה לא הבעיה השנה השביעית. השנה השביעית איכשהו נעבור את זה, אבל אחר כך השנה השמינית אנחנו 5 משפחות. צריכים להתפרנס. זה לא אני לבד, שאני יכול להתפרנס, אז אוקיי, אז אני אתפרנס בדוחק, וזה קשה לי, אז אני פונה לקרן השביעית, לבקש מהם את העזרה בנושא הזה, שיעזרו לי איכשהו לעבור את השנה השביעית.
Of all Rabbi Yamin's incredible accomplishments, lesser known was the Kamamias Matzah factory, which he built so that the people of Kamamias could afford shmura of the highest quality.
האדמה אשר אנחנו עכשיו עליה אדמת קודש היא. זוהי מאפיית המצות המהודרת והמפורסמת של קוממיות קרוב ל-70 שנה. כל גדולי הדור, רב לנדו זיכרונו לברכה לפני שהיה, רב מוישה עד שהיה למאפיית מצות היה בא לפה, רב חיים גריינמן, סלבודקה, רב משה אפרים, הרב של ירושלים, מגדולי צדיקים וגויין הדור, כל גדולי ישראל, כל החוגים, חסידים, בני ישיבות, חזונישניקס, קימם ורומם את מצוות השמיטה, וקימם ורומם מצות עבודת יד בהידור, אין דומה לזה.
To this day, Kamamias matzah is one of the most sought after shmura matzah in the whole world. The techniques learned at Kamamias, both in farming and in marketing the idea of keeping the Shemitah, would be transmitted across the entire country. Emissaries would go out from the remote Negev settlement, armed with their hard-won knowledge and supported by the tales of Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence, that follow farmers who keep the Shemitah.
The love Rav Mendelsohn had for the people, and the love Rav Mendelsohn had for Eretz Yisrael, and the love that Rav Mendelsohn had for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That love translated into individuals listening to him and being influenced by him, and slowly but surely a few saw that they could do it, and once they saw that they could do it, they told their friends. And the friend says, it's crazy, it's impossible. No, it's not. You see that you can do it.
Rabbi Yamin Mendelsohn Zatzal was nifter in 1979. His son, Rabbi Nachum Mendelsohn, took over as Rav of Karmemius until his passing. And then his younger brother, Rabbi Yisrael Yitzchak Mendelsohn, took over after him. But there was never a moment's interruption in the work the great tzaddik himself began. Through their constant effort and the work of Keren HaShvius, Shemitah observance grows in every cycle. Today there are more Shomrei Shemitah farmers in Eretz Yisrael than ever before. The number keeps growing because once they try it and they see that it works, they never go back.
אי אפשר להסביר את זה, אבל אנחנו באמת מבינים ויכולים גם להצביע גם למה. היבול היה ממש כאילו גבוה, אפילו הכפיל משנים קודמות, אבל זה משהו שכאילו אנחנו יודעים, ומי שמאמין מרגיש. מי שלא מאמין, אז הוא אומר שזה בגלל טמפרטורה גבוהה, או בגלל קרני שמש וכל מיני כאלה.
אנחנו התחלנו רק את השנה השישית לפני כמה חודשים. אנחנו רואים שיש לנו שפע יותר בירקות, יש לנו יותר ירקות מבחינת גידול. זאת אומרת, אם דונם היה נותן, סתם דוגמה לצורך העניין, היה נותן 10 טון, עכשיו הוא נותן 14 טון.
שטח רגיל, ממוצע, נותן בחורף. של 20 דונם כותב 250, 300 קרטון. אני כתבתי 800 קרטון בשבוע.
השנה ממש היה נס ולא היה גשמים כמעט בכלל, היה ממש חוסר רציני של גשם, היה תבואה כפול מכל שנה אחרת.
מה שהוא הבטיח אותי אנחנו מקבלים, שזה שפע.
אתה מחייך אל האדמה, האדמה מחייכת אליך.
היום אנחנו זוכים לראות את חזונו של אבא זיכרונו לברכה מתקיים במלוא הדרו, כשיש ברוך השם אלפי חקלאים שומרי תורה ומצוות שהם שומרי שביעית ברחבי ארץ ישראל, לכתחילה בשמחה, בהידור של מצווה בכל רחבי הארץ, בזכות מצוות השמיטה נזכה לגאולה שלמה בקרוב.
Thousands of farmers all across Eretz Yisrael, each growing different crops and following different practices, but every one of them sharing knowledge of the work of Rabbi Yamin and crediting Keren HaShvius with making it possible to keep the mitzvahs of the land. The Gemara tells us that the mitzvah of Shemitah is directly tied to our redemption, the Geula. Few have done more to bring us closer to that day than Rabbi Yamin Mendelsohn, Zecher Tzadik Livracha.